Welcome to the Whisky Burn and welcome to my Whisky Den. Episode 6, a whisky story. Everyone has a tale. And this week, I'm going to tell you my tale and how I got into whisky. So welcome to episode 6. My name's Jay. This is the Whisky Burn and this is my Whisky Den. It'll do. It's nice and it's full of whiskey and it's my room. Anyway, this is a whisky journey. Everyone has a tale. So I thought, as a lot of people have been asking me, how did you get into whisky? Why did you get into whisky? What's your memories of whisky? I had a very long conversation the other day in the pub with a fellow whisky lover. And he was talking about, we went here, we went to this distillery, we went here, we've been here, I love this whiskey. And before I knew it, an hour had gone and we just talked whiskey. So when you get the right person, you can talk about it. But he said the same thing, how did you get into whisky? When did you get into whisky? So my first memory of whisky was when I was a child at Christmas and my granddad got given a bottle of whisky. Couldn't tell you what it was. He got it for Christmas and had it wrapped up, not this one. He had it wrapped up and he knew what it was and he unwrapped it so it was there. And I remember saying to him, Grandad, why have you not opened your present? He said, I have. He'd opened the top and I was like, well, why have you done that? Simple, he said. So your nana doesn't know how much I've drunk. That's my first ever memory of a whisky story. I think that's quite sweet. So my granddad he didn't get me into whiskey at all, but my granddad has my first memory of whiskey, and it's a lovely memory and quite a cunning trick. I might try that if I get a bottle for Christmas this year. We'll go into Christmas presents later, nearer the time, I think. So getting into whiskey, I used to have whiskey with Coke, like Jack Daniels and Coke. Your stereotypical go to a bar, I have a whiskey and Coke. I got a memory of when I was at university with my best friend and we'd go to the student union bar back in the day and it was £10, got you 5 double whiskies and Coke. Couldn't tell you what the whiskey was. The drink tasted rank because it was cola rather than Coke. So it was that syrup stuff. £10 got you absolutely smashed because it was double whiskey and Coke. So not the great memory of whiskey there. So, moving forward a few more years, I remember my dad liked a little sip of whiskey. Earlier, the editions of the Whisky Burn, I talk about sip or save, and one of them was a whiskey bottle that was my father's, and I decided to save it. It does say it's a limited edition bottle, but it's my father's, so I probably would drink that another time. But I remember having a whiskey with him. I think he was the first person I actually had a whiskey with, and I thought, this stuff is pretty, it stinks. They all smell the same, like a lot of people do in this day and age. Not just young people, but a lot of people. They all taste the same. They all smell the same. Give it a try, and it doesn't. Moving forward, I went to Scotland to watch Scotland v England in the Six Nations. Big fan of it. And while we were up there, we went to a whiskey shop. And I don't know what made me think about it, but I thought, I need to buy myself a bottle of whiskey. And I said to the guy, what's a good one to buy? And he said, this one. So this is my first bottle of whiskey that I remember buying that wasn't I'll buy this whiskey and I'll have it with Coke and a mixer and something just to get hammered. I bought this as a sort of I want to get into whiskey. I want to start collecting whiskey. I want to start being a bit of a whiskey connoisseur. So this has a lot of memories for me. It's not open, and I have no real plans of opening it. It's the inaugural 100% Islay bottle. He said to me, keep hold of that because it might be worth something in a few years. Couldn't tell you if it is or not, but that's the first bottle I bought of whiskey that sort of has a real true meaning. The reason the Glenfiddich 12's here is simply because I remember that was the whiskey I first tried. It was a Glenfiddich 12. It was my dad's. I remember sort of thinking, right, okay, did this. He goes, have a smell. And it had quite a strong, wow. Don't think I've tasted whiskey after that for quite some time. Not neat anyway. And things just progressed from there. I started to get into trying different sorts of whiskies. And then for years, this one in here was my absolute favourite for years. Johnny Walker Double Black. Absolutely sublime. I love that. A couple of ice cubes in there. That's what I like to do. And I love it. It's a stunning whiskey. I know it's a blend and people are like, oh, blends aren't proper whiskey. Well, they are. They're just some whiskies mixed. I think there's about 23 different whiskies in that blend. 23. That's a lot. So moving on from that, I stuck with that for ages because I knew what I liked and I liked it. And it was only when I decided, you know what, I need to venture out. There's lots of different whiskies out there. I need to try different ones. So I then started, my friend basically sent me a little bottle of whiskey, about yay big, and said, try this, it's XYZ. I couldn't tell you what it is. It was a good 3-4 years ago. And I was like, this is different. And it was so nice. I think it was Highland Park. I'm going to say it was a Highland Park. I was like, well, this is different to what I'm used to. And I was like, right. So there are lots of variations of whiskey. And then I started looking into it. I started looking at all the different areas, the 6 different areas of Scotland that you've got. And Islay is my favourite sort of whiskey region, if you would like. And I thought to myself, you know what, I need to try more. So then I started buying different ones like Tamnavulin. Well, they've got 3 or 4 different types, different casks, different cask strength. You try them all and you go, oh, I really like this one. Not such a fan of this one. And you keep moving on and you keep trying a different bottle. There are so many out there that you could probably buy a different one every day and you would have an entire massive collection and you wouldn't repeat yourself. So moving nearer the day, we moved house many years ago and spoke to my neighbour, and he said, he's called Paul, and he said to me, at Christmas, I want to induct you into our house. You're like the son that we never had, kind of. And I said, what does that mean? And he had this lovely story about a whiskey called Dimple, about how it transpired through his wife's family sort of inducting him into it. And they always have a little dram at Christmas and sort of have a little toast to those who should be here. And I thought it was really sweet. And the fact that they actually asked me to have a dram with them at Christmas. So, you know, it kind of held my journey and it made me move forward and think, you know, whiskey to people mean different things. So to me, it means relaxing. It means having a bit of quiet time, trying something different. It's an interesting hobby, researching the tasting notes, looking at what other people think of them. So for me, my journey is still going on. I know probably this much out of that much, you know. I could tell you the regions, I could tell you a number of distilleries. I couldn't tell you vast history. I couldn't tell you what the first one was. I'm on my journey still. So there we go. So this one here, this is I got a bottle of Dimple bought for me by my good neighbour, and it means something. You know, whiskey isn't just, it's a drink. It can have some serious meaning to it. Like I've got the bottle of Petit Veitch that I've got. That means something to me because my friends all clubbed together and bought me it for my birthday. So it means something, and that's part of my whiskey journey as well. As some of you might just go out and buy a bottle, drink it and done, it's still part of your whiskey journey. So that's sort of how I got into it, really. I didn't fall into it. I sort of got introduced slowly. Thought, oh yeah, I'm in Scotland, so I've got to buy some whiskey. Bought the Kilcoman. First one I properly remember trying with my dad was the Glenfiddich 12. And here I am today. You know, what really sort of sped it up for me was probably the sending, me and my friend, he'll send me a bottle with something that I've never had, and I'll stick some of mine in one and send it back. And we did that so many times. And I've got a little, we put a little cardboard that wraps around the bottle. We write down what it is that's in the bottle. We do a little tasting video to each other. It's great. Good bit of fun. Try it with someone. It is absolutely great fun. And it adds to my whiskey journey. It adds to the tale of what whiskey is for me. So on that note, I'm going back to The first one I had, I can remember where I was. I was sat in the garden at home with my dad, and I said, "Oh, what's that? What you got there, Dad? What you got there?" He's like, "Oh, a bit of whiskey." All right. And I still can remember it, looking at it, going, what a lot of people do. Because, oh, that looks like a sample. Smells nice. But do you know what he did do? He said, "Here." And he stuck in some ice. So maybe that's where I've got my love of ice from. The fact that my dad used to, he tried it with me. Something about it, the coolness of it, the sort of just brings it down that little notch. So here we go. This is to anyone who's on a whiskey journey. Enjoy it, embrace it, and just remember it. It's a bit of fun. Not everyone likes whiskey. Never mind. Anyway, just quickly before I go, 19th of October, it is a Saturday, it will be tomorrow. When this goes out, it will be tomorrow. So if you're watching this Saturday onwards, it's gone. We'll be at the Whisky Lounge tasting event. It's 12 till 4 in Manchester, Saturday 19th of October. We'll be there, be doing a live on Insta at some point during the day. So if you are in Manchester or you're about, come down. It's going to be great fun. Try lots of whiskies and chat to people. It'll be great. So there you go. Next week, got a special for you. I've got an interview about a different type of whiskey. So make sure you join me for then. Gonna have a guest in my whiskey den. How fun's that? Anyway, enjoy your whiskey. Slante.